When you look at the industry as a whole, like how much growth do you see the overall consumer mushroom market growing over the next year or two? Do you have any idea? Hey everyone, welcome to our latest TDR Psychedelic Exclusive. Summer days are behind us and the industry is heating up. Investors getting very interested in this space. How's it going to perform? Well, let's find out with some of the thought leaders that we actually feature on our podcast. Welcoming back to our podcast, the CEO of Light Holland, which trades on the CSC under the ticker symbol TRIP, Todd Shapiro. How was the summer, my friend?
Shad, well, the summer was summer, which is beautiful when you have moments to compartmentalize with children and family, but it was a busy summer for Light Holland. So summer, fall, winter, spring, it's nonstop work for us.
Gearing up for a busy time for the industry. Do you think, let's face it, the industry has been hit hard. A lot of industries have, let's face it, when we look at the macro level, but I think this is going to have a domino effect for a lot of companies in the space related to MAPS' readouts that are about to happen, because I really think it's going to put this whole industry on the forefront, don't you think?
Well, we've talked about this before, and I don't really pay attention to everything going on because Light Holland has a different vision and a different view. And our view is definitely psychedelic core focused, but we believe in the right to try. We believe in the legal access for adults, and we believe that everyone who feels like they might be suffering from some sort of mental health issue or just anything in general, and we've talked about this in the past, that why are we criminalizing nature? It's an absolutely ridiculous concept. It's foreign, it's chaotic. It's archaic, and it is chaotic because people are using it illegally anyway. So it's kind of sad and funny that at the same time that things aren't being done. And Red Light is a big advocate for that, and we're really proud of what we're doing as a company. And you know what? I'm really proud of whether it's a medical route that other companies are doing, or it's big pharma, or MAPS and all their big kind of results that they're looking for. But it's different for Red Light. We're focused on revenues now, and I think we've proven that in our quarterly reports.
That's the key, revenues now. So let's talk about some of the recent news where you announced the submission of a permit application to the township of Cavan. Is it pronounced Monaghan? Am I going to pronounce that correctly?
You know, what's funny is I was calling it Cavan Monaghan for years, and it's actually Cavan Monaghan. Cavan Monaghan. So close. You say the G. Yeah, you say the G, though. It's not a silent G. And yeah, it's a really, really exciting time for Light Holland and our partners over at AEM Farms. We've submitted a lot of different plans working with engineers from the Netherlands and, of course, here in Ontario. And this is going to be a really big deal for Light Holland, we believe. This is a massive farm. It's a state-of-the-art farm. It's unlike most farms that people are used to, meaning there's only a few that exist like this in the world.
Yeah.
And we're excited to get into heavy mushroom production. And some of that's a little bit proprietary, but we're very excited about the potential for sure.
What makes the farm state of the art, if you don't mind me asking?
No, I can't tell you because then competitors might want to do it. Seriously, there's a lot of old school methods of farming in the mushroom industry, and there's mushroom pioneers all across the world. And the mushroom farming community is actually kind of like the mafia. And I mean that, meaning there's a very few amount of families that run the mushroom farming community across the planet. And you'll see it in Poland. You'll see it in the Netherlands where we're at, especially where our truffle farm is in Horst. There's a very big mushroom community there. You'll see it in Pennsylvania in the United States. And you'll see a lot here in Ontario, including anywhere from up around the Hamilton area, my apologies, all the way up to Pickering, Peterborough, Ottawa, etc. And we are in bed with, literally in a very comfy fungi mushroom bed with the best of the best in the mushroom game in Canada. Mike Medeiros and his family, Fernando, Nick Furlano, and Stephen Rody. I mean, these are farmers that are in the presidents of Mushrooms Canada. They're at all the committees. They're at all the different mushroom farming events. And we're very confident in that farm build up in Peterborough area, Cavan Monaghan.
Cavan Monaghan.
Yeah.
So what kind of years of experience do some of these growers have, and what do they think about the emergence of the industry, knowing that it's gone kind of mainstream in the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Chad. 100 years, if you combine all their family, decades and decades. I mean, we're good friends now with a farmer in Italy. who's connected to this family. I won't say his name because, who knows? I don't want people Googling him because I don't want them getting his knowledge either. So they have literally like a century of experience, decades and decades and decades. And what do they think of the emerging markets when it comes to psilocybin and psychedelics? At the end of the day, I love farmers. Why do I love farmers? They're salt of the earth people. They're very direct. They know how to make money, not like BS, capital markets, pumpy kind of stuff. Like they have huge farms that privately will do in the multiples of millions of dollars. And if collectively of all the farmers I know, I would concretely say that they're doing over $100 million together. And again, they're private companies. They're family-run companies like the mafia. They don't care, but they do everything legally, of course. So what do they think about psychedelics? They're excited for it because at the heart of it, with all this hard work, with getting up at 4 a.m. every day, with sacrificing a lot in their life to have successful businesses, they're really concerned with people's mental well-being as well. They have huge hearts. They want people to be doing better. And of course, all the science and all the studies and anecdotal research is showing that magic mushrooms will help. So they're excited to have Red Light as a vehicle to get involved one day on the psychedelic side, while on their private side, they just focus on whether it's white, brown, shiitake, lion's mane, oyster mushrooms, and they keep farming, making money. But they're very happy to share their knowledge and their guidance with us. Keep in mind, we don't pay these partners consulting fees. We just work with them to get out the best products. And they're very excited one day for the opportunity for magic mushrooms to hopefully have an opportunity to be legal, not only within this country, but others as well.
How do you establish a relationship with people like this? Because I would think, as you said, you're from Toronto, capital markets guy, CEO of a publicly traded company. And like you said, small town values, they work hard. They don't care about the hoopla and all that. But how do you, over time, develop a relationship with people like that?
Listen, I don't want to sort of toot my own horn here, like pat myself on the back, but I'm a people person first. I've always been that way. I'm not from the capital market. Sure, I've had experience in cannabisides and doing IR and doing stuff like you've done in the past as well. And luckily I made some great trades as a retailer in the past, and I really had good relationships with guys like Bruce Linton and everything. But at the core of it, the people that I've experienced within the capital markets are real people. They're not just like typical bankers. They're people, again, with a heart. So how does that relate to your question? I think they see me as also someone who's real, who's genuine, and who is honest. They don't like bureaucracy. They don't like red tape. They don't like bullshit. And I don't play in that bullshit game either. I play in a very straight shooter game. And I like to think that we built a really good trust, a really good sort of networking ability with one another, meaning I have connections that they might not have. They'll have connections that I've never met. And we brought these communities together. And through that, we believe we're going to build really big businesses. And we're excited about that.
It's good. Let's touch on news from last month where you announced your latest earnings report. It's been a while since I think it was back in July, you and I last spoke, but you reported audited annual financial statements for fiscal 2023. So looking at the year as a whole, it was a record year of growth, including a 5-digit percentage growth in certain divisions, 69.8% increase in year-over-year revenue, which was produced despite you lowering your operations by 2.85%. So overall, how are you feeling with what you're accomplished looking back at 2023 and heading into the upcoming year?
Well, my first sort of question back to you is I'd compare it to any other company within our sector and ask everyone, have you seen such a fiscally responsive reporting in terms of financial statements? Yeah. And cash flow coming in and less cash flow going out quarter over quarter. So we're really focused as a company on increasing revenues and decreasing burn. We all know it's a tough market right now. We all know that companies who are raising money are doing it at terribly dilutive levels. I won't mention some of the companies, but they're basically giving up their companies where they won't have control, the ones that are raising money right now. And that's good, bringing cash into a company, but we're most pleased with the fact that we've preserved our capital while slowly and patiently growing our business. And more recently, we reported our Q1 and in Q after those year end, the audited year ends. In Q1, we had more growth over Q1 last year, 53% growth. We did about 1.2 million in revenue, and that's a slower season for us. There's seasonality in our business, most definitely. The big sort of season that we really look forward to is coming up: September, October, November, December.
Why is that, Todd?
Mushroom sales are typically better in the colder months. People are inside, home grow kits. You want some warmth in your home. You're not out as much, so you can actually take care of something. There's functional benefits too. So there tends to be more colds, more flus, maybe more new COVIDs coming up, and people definitely want to take care of themselves. And mushrooms are a vehicle to help take care of yourself. So that is part of the reason why. And in the summer, people are wining and dining more. They're out. They're trying to golf. They're trying to spend time with their kids. They're going to Disney World, whatever. And you know what's neat, though, about the mushroom space, man? I swear to God, I just got back downtown Toronto for and over the last few weeks, and all the big fall campaigns are coming out. Gucci has got mushrooms on hoodies that are selling for $2,300 Canadian for a hoodie. You could go buy ours at Mr. Caps, mrcaps.com, with a really cool mushroom design on the back for much cheaper. And I assure you the quality is probably just the exact same. Aritzia, another big thing, has got a huge display of mushrooms right now. Mushrooms are taking over the world, and we're in the right business as an everything mushroom company. And we're really excited about this knowledge and this learning that not only are we seeing just from outside sources around mushrooms, but everything that Red Light Holland is trying to achieve as well, and get that information out there, not just to loyal shareholders and not just to consumers, but just to the public as well. For anyone who is intrigued by this sort of growing species, this fungus that people now are learning about and want to help.
Well, I think it's becoming part of society more and more. A friend of mine was at a event in the Hamptons last week. Their DJ playing, and they had screens of like mushrooms everywhere. I saw it on Tomorrowland as well, which is arguably probably the biggest concert in the world right now. So it actually has become part of mainstream society. It's like a trend. It's like it's hip to be involved in that lifestyle now because, I think as we look at the organic, genre or era of lifestyle that we live in now, shrooms is definitely going to be part of that, especially when it comes to microdosing. So one of the things I want to touch on as well, reading some of the highlights of the earnings report, the rise in wholesale mushroom sales was indeed by far the greatest contributor for growth, which grew an astounding 10,998% year over year. So what's this say to my original point about the consumer's wants and needs of embracing this into society and the overall interest level pertaining to it?
Yeah, and let's be honest a bit. We did get into operations much smoother. That comparison of that over 10,000% was because we weren't doing as much at the time. AEM in New Brunswick is getting near capacity, but we're very happy with what we've learned there in shiitake mushrooms. I mean, those mushrooms end up in all 47 farm boys across Ontario. We have products that hit your independent groceries. They hit restaurants that you likely would dine at if you're in Quebec, Ottawa, or Toronto. We also now have our home grow kits that are hitting Canadian Tire. They're hitting super centers, the Loblaw super centers. They're getting to, we just signed a deal for 31 Longo stores. I mean, there's a lot of growth, literal growth of not just doing it at home, but it getting to retailers. And being in over 135 retailers last reported, of course, with the focus of getting into more retail. And I can assure you that's exactly what we will be doing. We're excited. People like mushrooms. I don't think it's just a trend, to be honest. You use that word. I know you used it sort of like just as sort of the more the artistic side of it. I know what you're saying there, but at the end of the day, people do want to eat mushrooms. And the fact that we have experienced growers, the fact that we are very good at focusing on distribution, and the fact that we want to continue to sell more mushrooms, build more mushroom farms, and get into that psychedelic core focused in emerging markets, which we're doing very well as well. We're just proud that people want mushrooms, and we're going to be the ones that will do our very best to make sure that if you're eating a mushroom, magic or just functional, that it's going to come from us.
Okay. So when you look at the industry as a whole, like how much growth do you see the overall consumer mushroom market growing over the next year or two? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, we reported in our Q&A that this is like a multi-billion-dollar industry that will grow tenfold from here. The thing we do have to be concerned about, quite frankly, and you know me, I'm a real guy, is consumer spending is tough right now. Inflation. I mean, very. I think Bank of Canada today, I think they finally paused interest rates, but inflation is tough, and people are having trouble paying their mortgages, and certain things are considered luxury items still. So if it's easier for people to eat at fast food restaurants and not buy a premium mushroom product, they just unfortunately might do that. Over time, though, we believe with education and with this big shift to not just sort of green energy, the way we think, but also green eating, healthier eating, more people becoming vegetarians, more people trying mushroom products. We believe that the growth is quite huge. And then when you think of exotic mushrooms, the ones we specialize in, like lion's mane, shiitake, and oyster, I read a statistic recently that said that 25% of all mushrooms sold in Europe are those exotic mushrooms, not just your white or browns would be kind of your normal plain mushrooms. In Canada, that market's only about 1% of mushrooms for exotics. So if you think of that, how do we get to that extra 24% to get to 25%, especially with a lot of Europeans immigrating over to Canada, with a lot of, obviously great immigrants coming from all areas in the world, all who dabble within the mushroom culture of eating. We believe that it's going to be a massive industry, and that's exactly why we're focused on it.
Is the European landscape ahead of where we are as far as understanding and embracing and accepting and this new lifestyle towards mushrooms versus, say, North America?
Well, Europeans in general, and I don't want to stereotype and I don't want to just make blanket statements, but Europeans in general are really focused on a quality life. Think about their vacation time, and I can tell you that our Dutch employees, they take their vacation time way more than our Canadian employees, and I can't fault them for it. But they get X amount per year, and they focus on it. Meaning, they don't answer their email, they don't answer their phone, and they're on vacation, living in the moment. And as a company that really preaches living in the moment, I can't fault them for it. With that being said, I'd like to be able to, as the CEO and director of the company, to find some time myself. But I think Europeans have a way of life, whether it's the siestas and then up later and a little bit more wine and a little bit more relaxation. I think it's great. With that being said, I come from a family of hard workers. I'm very driven. Part of my ability to relax is actually very difficult because when I'm relaxing, I feel like I'm not doing anything to focus on growth, whether it's for the company or for my family, quite frankly. I think Europeans in general, though, live a better lifestyle, eat better, walk more. Maybe they drink more, but they definitely, eat healthier. And I think we're seeing kind of some part in North America of individuals that are sadly, not taking care of themselves the way I think we're supposed to be doing. And a lot of that is the mental health, and Red Light wants to get that message across as well.
Yeah. I had a friend who was in Vancouver for the first time in 10 years last weekend. Big eye opener, to say the least, on the homelessness that's
Chad, don't get me started. My anxiety levels through the roof being back in Toronto now. And, again, we're seeing that in Toronto, and it's very, very heartbreaking to see tent cities popping up, to see a lot of homelessness, to see people randomly getting attacked, to seeing homes get broken into on the nightly basis, to seeing incidents happen on the TTC, the Transit Commission. It's very scary, and I'm really fearful for the new types of drugs that are out these days. We're seeing terrible fentanyl, we're seeing lace stuff, we're seeing people literally that are taking one wrong turn in life, it appears. And I think we may have talked about this on your last podcast, but ultimately what we're learning about magic mushrooms and the difference here is that these are products that you cannot form a habit around. They are non-addictive. And we are seeing great strides, as you know, whether it's post-traumatic stress disorder from veterans or helping cut back on alcohol. Magic mushrooms are working, man. And we're going to fight for that for everybody, because we don't want to see more people popping up and sadly losing control of their lives. We want to help get them back in control. I can't make medical claims, by the way, but that's our focus.
Yeah. So you announced this, or you touched on this earlier in the podcast, and you made this announcement last month. So the Happy Caps Mushroom Farm, you've expanded the distribution of the mushroom grow kits to, you said 131 retail stores. Is that correct?
About 135. I think the 31 number was the Longos we're getting in.
Longos, big brand. Loblaws, big brand. Real Canadian Superstores, big brand. How long, I guess, has that distribution partnership working behind the scenes, and how did it all come to fruition? What was their interest level?
Yeah, I mean, we have sort of just really great salespeople. One of the founders, Andrew Hatfield, picks up the phone and calls people. I mean, we start off our meetings. I used to always talk about the path to profitability in every meeting I started off with. Like if you think of Al Pacino on Any Given Sunday with that music playing and getting the troops motivated, it was always about what's our path to profitability. And it's not always easy to get there, quite candidly, but we're doing our best to get there, obviously, and people can see that in the financial statements. But I start every meeting now with the hunt to profitability? How are we hunters? How are we focused on all rolling up our sleeves, not just treating this company like some big corporate conglomerate because we happen to raise a lot of money, and last reported still $17.5 million in the bank. You know why people and companies go broke, Shad? It's because they all of a sudden raise a lot of money and think that they're a Google. So they get these fancy offices and they have these fancy expense accounts, and they're whining and dining out of the yin yang, and they're just going nuts on it. Whereas I'm telling everybody to get outside of your comfort zone. I don't care if you're titled the COO, the CMO, the CEO. We're picking up the phone and we're hunting for sales, and we're all using our connections, and we're all just getting outside of our comfort zone to sell, because without selling, there won't be profitability. And people do not give enough credit to salespeople in this world. Salespeople make the world run. And I'm telling you, we have great salespeople in this team because no one is afraid to do it. And I don't care what level they're at. The hierarchy in our company isn't focused on just sort of positional reporting and all this kind of stuff. We're just all trying to make money and increase shareholder value.
It's always been the downfall of the small cap space is people raise money and blow it out real fast, right?
Oh man, I've seen too much now. I won't mention companies either, but the fact that like in our sector alone, man, and I remember being chirped by these companies and these CEOs and a lot of these guys on panels and things, and they were laughing at Red Light. They were laughing at me personally too. Oh yeah, radio guy, what are you going to do? And I saw all these corporate types. Where are they at now? And other than maybe a Compass or an Atai that happen to be in like the hundreds and hundreds of millions of money raised, go look at where people's financial statements are now, compare them to ours, and see who blew out their money and see who didn't, and see who's in revenues, increasing revenues quarter after quarter, and see who's not. So we're proud of that from Red Light. And to the rest of you guys, I hope you find another job. I want everyone to do well, but don't ever knock people on the way up or on the way down. It's not the right way to do business.
Yeah. Listen, always appreciate the update. Congrats, obviously, on the hard work, and let's just keep the momentum going, but let's please keep in touch. Sound good?
Yeah, we're really excited, and stay tuned. I mean, Red Light's always working on opening up new distribution points. I've said it very clearly in my MD&A. We're always considering MD&A opportunity with the cash we have. We're excited to get shovels in the ground, so to speak, in this farm in Cavan, Monaghan. And I mean, the Netherlands is going very well too. We're very pleased with SR Wholesale, the truffle farms up and running, as we all know, and doing some numbers there, and we're looking to increase those numbers as well. And again, this mushroom sector is fun to be in, especially when you're in it with such great partners. And we're very proud of our entire team over at Red Light Holland. And I'm super grateful for your time. And thank you to all the loyal shareholders. It's a lot of fun. At times it can be very stressful, but I'd like to think that, and it's a quote I always say with you, aligned shareholders are the best shareholders. And at the end of the day, it's about a vision. Believe in the vision and believe that we're going to work hard to get there. We're always working our asses off. So I'm proud of that. No one can take that away from us.
Path to profitability. I think growth, obviously, but most importantly, especially in this day and age in this industry, is your current cash position. So way to be conservative, because I don't know how many companies, like I said, stocks raced out to a crazy amount and they blew through a lot of paid programming, paid sponsorship, all that sort of stuff. And now a lot of these companies, like you said, are putting deals together where you saw some mergers and acquisitions last week. It made sense, I think, for some companies. However, current shareholders are a little indifferent because, where they originally got in was half the amount of where the agreement was put into play. And, if I'm a shareholder, I want to make sure that you're getting a return on your investment, right?
Well, we all believe in the cycles of the industry, and we all believe that good news is going to continue to come. And I think the neat part for Red Light Holland and Red Light Holland shareholders, without giving financial advice and always do your due diligence, is the fact that it's pure statistical that we're one of the remaining few. So if 30 or 35 or 40 companies went public 3 years ago, how many exist in this sector right now? And I'd like to think that if you were to look at the whether it's total asset value, which we're hovering around 30 million right now, with a lot of land and with property, and our valuation on our farm, even in New Brunswick, I think was $2.5 million. We bought property that we own outright for $2 million. So if you think about what we've done at Red Light and then try to compare it to other companies, I mean, we got to be in that for sure top 10, probably even top 5. I don't again look enough to maybe the other market caps and where everyone's sitting or what their burn rate is. Meaning, are they maybe they have 40 million left, but are they burning through 20 a quarter, so they only have 2 quarters of a run rate, and will be forced to raise. I think Red Light set itself up well. Always do your due diligence to any shareholder, but we're proud. I mean, I'm confident. Our team is confident. It's slow. You got to be patient. You got to be calm. And as sort of my wife always reminds me, take one day at a time and live life to the best you can, and just keep trying to strive more the next day than you did the last one, and keep trying to be a better person and work harder. So that's what we're doing.
Well said. Listen, keep up the good work and keep working hard. Okay.
Thanks, Shad.
All right.
Miss
Thanks,
you, buddy.
Todd.
I gotta get we gotta have a mushroom beverage today. One day. Yeah. By the way, the other thing is, when's the next conference? I don't really do those, but maybe should I be at one? I don't even know. In a psychedelic conference.
There's a cannabis conference that Benzenga's hosting.
Okay.
That is September 27th, 28th in Chicago. There is the Wonderland conference that's going to be in Miami. That's early
I won't go to the
November.
Wonderland. That I won't do.
Yeah, I hear you. What else is there? There's the MJ Biz conference and a huge psychedelic.
We did remind last year, actually. Maybe I should reach out to those folks. That was good.
That's end of November.
Okay. Perhaps we'll be at that one.
Treat California, which is an initiative to get, I think, 1 million signatures before the end of the calendar year. They're trying to get a $5 billion government grant from the state of California, which, the people that are involved actually have a track record. They were able to get an $8.5 billion government grant for a stem cell treatment for infectious diseases a number of years ago. So the same people that are in play are working on an initiative just to overall get the proper infrastructure built for mental health for the industry. And they think that California is going to be the epicenter for obviously research pertaining to it, which is smart. But there's a big time event going on in Beverly Hills tomorrow night. They're bringing in some pretty big name people, some pretty big celebrities, just to write checks and to draw obviously awareness and to get more and more signatures signed. So all is well in the industry. It's generating tons of conversation. But it's generating conversation for all the wrong reasons, I think, because like you said, you're seeing major cities that people that are homeless are popping up everywhere.
Yeah, man, it really is frightening. And most importantly, if you're listening beyond all the business stuff, pick up the phone, call old friends, call old relatives. I'm not old by age, just if you haven't reached out in a while, because it doesn't seem to be getting any better. We're worried about here what's next for, are there future lockdowns? Is there future mask mandates? All this kind of stuff, which contributes to all the bad, I think. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact, and it sort of relates, sorry if it sounds exploitive at the moment, but we're really making great progress through our Health Canada approved psilocybin import licenses at Seacrest Labs for our homogenized capsules, our microdosing capsules that I believe out of Magic Truffles for sure, we're the only company on the planet to do it, at least publicly talk about it, which is showing stability testing for heavy metals and pesticides. We've got our COAs on the products. We're doing more stability testing, getting to the 3-month mark. And obviously our aim is to distribute this through whether it's Nubu Pharmaceuticals in Australia or New Zealand, or maybe we can open up stuff here in Canada one day for the special access program. This is what we're zeroed in on. And ultimately, this will go back to helping. And there are many doctors reaching out to Red Light Holland. A lot do it kind of, hey, I've been prescribing SSRIs my whole life. I know they're not working. What can I learn more from your company? And
we're seeing that.
Yeah. Oh, man. We're seeing it. We're seeing it all over the place, Chad. And we wanted to do it with naturally
doctors you're finding are putting their egos aside and wanting to have an open mind and look at this stuff more closely. There's some let's face it, doctors always want to say, I'm the doctor, I'm going to prescribe what I think is best. And a lot of them still lean towards SSRIs, but you're seeing a shift in that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of it is anonymous, and we're having conversations where I'm not allowed to disclose names. Some of it, I think more people are you're going to see more doctors, in my opinion, opening up and saying they want to help through naturally occurring products, and obviously through the big pharma, like a Compass would do, like the tweaking a molecule and patenting it that route as well. But we saw it in cannabis. Medical doctors came out in the thousands at one point to start prescribing medical cannabis because they saw its benefits.
This is a whole other game, though, when you look at the data that there's in this industry compared to cannabis, right?
Well, meaning good or bad for us?
Good. Really
Yeah.
good.
Oh, really good. But the problem is sometimes too good because of the barrier to entry that people want to tweak it and make it only a big pharma medicine, not a naturally occurring medicine. Again, you can't criminalize nature, and we're seeing the great results with the natural stuff too. And Red Light Holland, back to our naturally occurring product, has these homogenized capsules going through the stability testing right now. And again, I think we started off calling it from underground to the mainstream. If you look at our original website, we talked about the standardization of naturally occurring psychedelics and psilocybin specifically. And we're on that path. And that is something that, you might see in a hat wearing CEO, but, oh, what are you doing in the medical community? Or, are you going to these sort of scientific conferences and stuff? Well, no, but how many people have naturally occurring products that are being tested through rigorous tests, through Health Canada approved controlled substances and dealers licenses labs to get this product hopefully out there and to show people that it can be a benefit and it can be standardized. So Red Light's doing it all, man. And by the way, all these after parties, as I always say, they're the ones doing all the magic mushrooms anyway. So, they're buying this stuff illegally. They're dipping into markets and supporting gray markets. If we really want to have an honest conversation, you wouldn't be doing that. You'd be doing it with the ones that are standardized and through legal means. So hopefully that is something Red Light could be a part of.
A lot of people starting to shy away from the black market industry, especially when you look at some of the stuff that's gone on. I think cannabis side, I think the product of the legal market has gotten a lot better. I also think too that you need just an everyday, not great substance either for a lot of users, because let's face it, Bud Light beer is not great, but there's a lot of Bud Light drinkers, or there was. But when I look at how many people have lost a friend, that had something that was laced with fentanyl and they're dead, and there's some pretty big, well-known people that I know, and they're, that are in, the celebrity status that have lost children related to that. So we are in a time where I think the war on drugs has never really worked. So if we are going to go down this road, I think we need to stop, reevaluate, and try to keep people as safe as possible, and making sure that everything is GMP graded. But, that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of conversations.
And I forget if I said this on your show in the past, but I mean, I have an 8-year-old son, great kid. He's like 6'2" already. He's an Uber driver. It's crazy. But
6'2"?
Yeah, no, I'm messing around. He's 8 years old. He drives Uber big wheel. He gets his kids to go. No, I think to myself, like realistically, right? Like forget about, take off my CEO hat or my, Drew House hat, whatever hat I'm wearing. And just imagine this. Try to think of the future. Try to be a visionary yourself. And when I talk to yourself, I mean you and all your awesome listeners and viewers. Think about the fact that in 10 years from now, if you had an 8-year-old, do you not think that there's a strong likelihood that he'll or she'll be able to walk in to a legal magic mushroom shop and like cannabis shops are set up and buy? And if my son can do that one day, meanwhile, if he can work at a mushroom farm and learn hard work on the way there too, and then one day tell his buddies, well, my dad and a bunch of guys in this industry, or a bunch of ladies, of course, a bunch of everybody when I say guys, were advocates for that, tried to focus on doing it the right way, and now allowed us to have this opportunity. I mean, that's the legacy I want to leave, Chad. I forget if I've told you that before, but that's what I'm dialed in for. So, maybe stressful now, and I'm losing hair almost every day. I'm even losing hair on my legs. Kind of weird. But I mean, this is like, no, like this is my focus, and we're going to keep fighting the good fight and doing everything we can in our power to increase revenues quarter over quarter, to decrease burn. We got the big Mr. Cap launch. So, hopefully that'll bring more revenue and more brand awareness and more mushroom awareness too. Sorry, I'm long-winded, dude, but you invited me on.
All good. 100 years ago, people with money had cars and the poor people had horses. And 100 years later, it's people with money have horses now and the average dude has a car. But my point in all that is just the innovation that was, invented. Think of like an airplane. Like these are huge events that happened 100 years ago. And now that we're in almost 25 years into this century, very, very evident from the conversations that I've had is like this is a generational thing, and it's long overdue. So look, Otsuka Pharmaceuticals, they bought out Mindset last week. So the question is, does big pharma come into this space? Yes, like it's a foregone conclusion. Why are they getting in? Because they're starting to see change. They're starting to see people's lives, to improve, and it's on the people. It's on the radar for a lot of people. So I think, to your point, time is now, and we do need change. And if you don't believe us, then a great example is to walk around a major city, because it doesn't matter whether you're in Toronto, Vancouver. I was in Denver. It's the same thing. It applies everywhere right now. It's concerning, right?
Well, I'll leave you on this deep thought. Let's not ignore the indigenous routes to psychedelics and the tens of thousands of years of usage.
Yeah.
But also, if you think about where we were and now like where we are, and the idea that we can't use psychedelics, I mean, it's like it's so asinine and so backwards. And maybe, just maybe, there was an era we called Greek mythology, Shad.
Yeah.
And the reason why they called it Greek mythology is just because it was myths. They look back and they're like, oh my goodness, you had this god and the star, but that was just a myth. And maybe, just maybe, and this gets deep and controversial, maybe they look back at this last 100 years since industrialization, and maybe a little bit longer, and they call this, maybe it's a science mythology era. And yeah, there's some great science out there that has helped, okay? And I said it to you last time, you know, I have a stepmother on cancer medication that has saved her life. So I'm not shitting on big pharma like this. Trust me, I'm not. But maybe just some of it, when it comes to psychedelics, maybe they'll call this a science mythology era for some of the mistakes that science have made, taking away naturally occurring products to help human beings, and not allowing that to happen. And we saw that with the war on drugs when Nixon came in, and maybe they'll think of that now as a myth. They'll shift their focus and go, you know, that 100 years, they had it wrong. This stuff was right. And that's a deep thought to look back one day on history books. And again, it can sound controversial, but go and ask everybody at Burning Man. Ask them if they had a good time. Despite that weather.
Top gun fighter fighters that I speak to all the time too. They told me,
man.
look, there's 44 veterans that commit suicide every day, and they're like, you know, do I think positive readouts from MAPS will open up the floodgates? They said it'll break down the Hoover Dam. This is the greatest invention of the 21st century, and the data is going to provide it. And that's what I mean, going back to the comparisons to cannabis and psychedelics. There's 40 plus years of data proving that, like, you know, the lives, and whether you're on the medicinal or rec side, if you're microdosing, people are going to want to be part of that. It's going to be part of society. It's going to be part of everyone's language. Think of every corporation that's going to have to implement. They already are, but, you know, some have advocated for mental health, but really haven't changed all that much. But we're in a stage now where, like I said, as people get older, and if the system's broke, you got to really listen, and we got to find new solutions and answers in how we survive and live a better life. That's the whole point, right?
I laugh at the placebo studies going on around microdosing too, by the way, because I just encourage anyone, if you could take a trip to the Netherlands, stop in our Utrecht store, go and buy an iMicrodose product, microdose magic truffles, do it with whatever protocol you read up online, and we suggest the protocols ourselves, and we publish a report on protocols for microdosing. Then reach out to me personally after a week and tell me that was placebo. So we're seeing it, and we're looking forward to proving out more and continually work with this balance of naturally occurring and whatever evidence we can give through statistics, data, analytics, and everything we're collecting on our app in the Netherlands too. So yeah, and Shad, you're right. It's a good sort of tie-in with what MAPS is doing. That's, you know, I apologize for coming across defensive at the beginning of the interview, but you know, that will be important to kind of at least elevate the stigma, and that's a big thing too.
100%. Listen, keep in touch. Always great chatting with you.
Yeah, Shad, you're fun. Awesome. Great
Thanks,
job
brother.
as always. Okay.
Take care.
Cheers.
So what'd you all think of the interview? Did you like what we recorded with our guests? Then leave a comment below and let us know what you thought of it. And if there's any more questions you want us to ask, as usual, share this video with your network. Click on that bell for all notifications. And most importantly, subscribe to our channel, because we would not be here without you. Thanks for watching, everyone.